Welcome to the Rumour Show. I'm Julio Flores, and obviously we're going to be looking at all the great rumors this weekend. Look back at some of the things that came true this past week and see some cool things that are going on for the coming week. I'm Julio Flores. My producer is Rudy Campos, and we're going to have a great time this weekend. Sad to say that Joe Pa, his family told us he passed away this morning at 7:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What a guy this was. 409 games, took the Nittany Lions to 37 bowl games, 2 national championships. In fact, 250 players in the NFL played for Joe Paterno. And we know, obviously, with the scandal that happened with Sandusky and Joe Pa apparently not giving enough evidence and information to the authorities, was let go and then diagnosed with lung cancer, treatable lung cancer, on, what was it, I believe the 17th of December. But sad to say, I think the stress, I mean, Joe Paterno was 85, still going strong, but up to the point of hearing about all this stuff and getting let go, it just was kind of overwhelming, I think, emotionally. I've heard of people that go ahead and maybe their mate dies, and they just, everything goes to pot, and they die sometimes maybe even a few days, a few weeks later after their mate dies. Joe Pa, I felt like, was married to this football program. He will always be remembered as part of this football program. And looking back at some of the history of Joe Pa, I was not aware that in '63, he was working for Brown University. That coach went ahead and went over to Penn State. Joe Pa was saying to himself, you know what? I could go over to this new school, not new school, but, you know, it was like in the middle of nowhere. It was Cowtown. He said, I don't know if I'm coming from Brooklyn. I don't want to go work at a place where there's practically cows everywhere. And then one thing that happened as well, Al Davis wanted to hire him in 1963 to coach the Raiders for twice his salary, which was pretty minuscule. And I believe it was about $18,000 that he was making, and he was going to go ahead and coach the Raiders. Turned that down, became the head coach for Penn State in the 60s, and was there for quite a number of years. And Joe Pa will definitely be remembered for good things, but then he could possibly be remembered for some bad things as well.
Well, you know, here's the problem with the whole thing. Joe Pa built that program. That program was nothing till he got there. He built it into a national powerhouse, and he also took it down with, I want to say, sheer stupidity. You're going to tell me that you do not know what your assistant coach is doing? You're going to tell me that you don't know what is going on the campus that you built? Now, the guy is a legend, and far be it from me to judge, because I'm not the judging type, but I will tell you this. For as much good as he did, in the back end, he really did himself a disservice. And
no pun intended on the back end?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly. And here's the problem with it. Okay, so he finally gets fired. I find it very coincidental. This is one of those stories that you hear where he dies from a broken heart. He gave up once he got fired, and that's what it looks like to me. He gets fired from Penn State. He loves his job so much that the guy was there for 50 years. He gets fired, and then suddenly they find cancer, and then he dies no more than 2 months later. This man, he died with a broken heart. They broke his heart, and he died. That's how it comes down to me.
Yeah, on January 13th, he went into the hospital. He had only one interview since he lost his job. That was with the Washington Post. And the person that was interviewing him basically said, very frail, speaking in a whisper. He was wearing a wig because of, I presume, some of the treatment for the cancer. The second day of the interview, the 2-day interview, was conducted at his bedside. So you can tell that he definitely was so involved with this program because, you know, most people, obviously, they retire 62, 65, or earlier, a little later, whatever it might be. But to still be working at 85, this program was his heart and soul. And
this was his first child.
Exactly.
This program was his first child.
Yeah. And I don't know what his thought process was this when Sandusky was revealed that he was doing this stuff originally. Was it like, I'm going to cover for my friend? Did he say the right things to say, oh, I wasn't really doing that. They're making me a scapegoat, that kind of stuff. Who knows what was said? But the point was that they still didn't get the situation figured out, and someone had to take a fall later on. Could this have happened a long time ago? Maybe so, that it would have been all taken care of, but would Joe Pa still have dirt on his hands, so to speak?
Well, when he got fired, he still had dirt on his hands. They fired him because he believed he was bigger than the program. He was still defiant all the way up to when he was fired. What did he tell the staff and the trustees? You don't have to worry about me. I'm going to retire at the end of the year. Well, okay. That's fantastic. But how do you justify covering up a story that you covered up? How can you justify saying, I didn't look into it sufficiently? It is your job as the coach and as a father figure to many of these players to do the due diligence and make sure that they are safe on campus, whether it be the players, whether it be upcoming players, whether it be little children. It is his job to make sure that everybody is safe. Everybody in the program acts correctly. That is his job. Nobody else's. This is his first child. He should treat it like his first child. You're going to make mistakes, but you know what? At some point, you need to show some responsibility for what went on. You may not be entirely responsible for it, but you are partially, and you need to take the rap for it. I mean, I understand Sandusky did it all by himself, but this is one of your best friends. If you're going to cover for him, then cover for him, but don't be surprised when the hammer comes down on you. That's all there is to it. Because
typically what's going to happen when you go ahead and lie about something, there's other lies you have to cover up, and you got to go ahead and remember the first lie. What basically, in my opinion, always happens is someone's going to go ahead and lie about something and try to cover something up. It's eventually going to come out. Eventually. It could be weeks later, months later, years later. This actually came out, and the biggest tumble you could think of any college coach for it to happen like that. And obviously we're respectful because of him dying. But if this would have came out earlier and he would have got let go from the program, would he have died? He would have died earlier.
It happened earlier when he was 65. Who's to say it wouldn't have happened when he was 55? He needs to be held accountable for some of the stuff that went on. That's my whole point. Is he a legend? Yes. Has he put his hands all over the football lineage of Penn State? Yes. Does this guy deserve legend status? Yes. But he also has got to be remembered as one of the guys who covered up one of the worst scandals in college football, bar none.
One of the things you got to worry about is that why did he cover it up? I mean, this is something that is vulgar, that you couldn't believe would be happening. It doesn't matter if this is your friend. You might say, hey, dude, go ahead and you got to turn yourself in. I'm giving you this much time to take care of this. Because if not, I got to take care of it, because to protect the students, no one wants to go. Who knows how long this is going on? And there's probably some people who were abused and have never said anything about it because it's embarrassing. Not
only is it embarrassing, but you don't want to put that black mark on an institution like Penn State. Everybody looks at Penn State, and what else is there around there? College Station, that's it. They only have Penn State. That is the one big draw. Nobody wants to put a mark on the big draw. That's what brings in money. These people, maybe they dreamt about playing for Penn State. They didn't want to be the one to put the black mark on the school.
Yeah, and to go ahead and who knows what was said? Was Sandusky saying, well, hey, you do this favor with me, I'll get you a better position on the team. I'll get you on the first team. We'll get some scouts to look at you. Who knows what was being said in order to go ahead and be involved in that kind of stuff. I can't think of people that would just normally do these type of things. I mean, it's appalling.
Appalling? That is quite the understatement. I mean, you're in a position of power over these young kids. These kids trust you. They look up to you, and he allowed Sandusky to run roughshod over these children. Now, how much did he know? I don't know. But I do know for a fact he knew something was going on. He knew something was going on with Sandusky. That's why Sandusky was forced to retire. So how much did he know? We'll never know. Only he knows. But he needs to be blamed for part of the scandal.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go ahead and cover up, it's like anything. You have a bunch of people who are involved in a scandal at your employment, and you know it's going on, and it's going on for a long time, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. Well, all of a sudden, you become an accomplice to that. I mean, you go ahead and you're sitting in a getaway car in front of a bank, and your friends go ahead and rob the bank. You're like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. I just given a ride to the bank. Well, eventually, you're going to figure out that they rob banks, and you've got to say something, or you're going to be part of the group that did it.
Exactly. I mean, that is summed up very perfectly. I mean, you know what? You have to figure it out. It is your job. You are the head coach. You have to make sure your program is in, how do they say it? That they're coordinated with the NCAA bylaws and rules. It is his job to figure it out. Plain and simple. No other excuse. He can't give you an excuse that he didn't know. He's the head coach. He should.
Congratulations to the Patriots winning today 23-20 over the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. And it was shocking to see Billy Cundiff missing that 32-yard field goal attempt, and the Patriots winning that game. A 1-yard touchdown dive by Brady does it back there in the fourth quarter. So looking forward to them in the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. Right now, San Francisco leading the Giants 14-10, 11 minutes and 1 second left in the fourth quarter. A lot of people were telling me, oh, wouldn't it be so great if the Ravens and the 49ers end up playing each other too. The Harbaugh Bowl and that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, that's interesting for like 2 seconds or so. But the Patriots are the team that have been there. They're the veterans. I got to give it props to the Ravens because they really did stay in that game. They really played with some heart, and I was very, very impressed by them. But when you keep Ray Rice to only 78 yards, well, you lose a major threat, and you got to work with just Flacco. And obviously, he threw for 306 yards, but came up short. And, Flacco's been able to get them to the playoffs, but not to the Super Bowl. And sometimes you can only be so good.
Now, does Ed Reed, being that how he attacked his quarterback all the way from the beginning of the week to the game, is he going to attack the kicker now for missing the field goal?
Well, obviously.
Is he going to call the guy a choker?
I've never been a kicker to be able to be in that intensity, but you got to think of the anxiety that's involved. You're seeing your team drive down the field, and it's getting closer. First, his longest was 51 yards for the season, and getting closer, and they're almost got a TD, got batted down. He's like, oh, no, I still got to go out there. And he's practicing kicking, and you got to be getting the sweaty palms, and you're hoping the ball is going to be hiked correctly, and it's going to be placed the right. And then it's wide left. And I'm thinking, wow, this is not that far. And sometimes it makes me wonder what's going on in the heads of these kickers. But then also, was there some type of payout sometimes? Because I'm thinking, this is way too easy to be missing stuff like this.
Okay, so here's the problem I have with the whole thing. They know they were going for a field goal. Everybody in the world knew they were going for a field goal. Why is Billy Cundiff running out on the field and literally sprinting out there? What was he doing for the other 35 seconds while the play clock was being run down? I mean, what did he not know that they were going to kick it on fourth down? Did he not realize that was the game-tying field goal? I mean, that's just a question I have.
I have no idea. Maybe he was having a Snickers bar. I don't know. Something to get his energy
Popcorn.
up. It takes a little while for the sugar to get in you. Maybe you should eat that a little earlier.
Here's a question. So Ed Reed took it upon himself to smash his quarterback. Does the quarterback get to smash on him for his uninspired play? I mean, what did Ed Reed do today? He didn't do anything.
I didn't hear much from Ed Reed.
Yeah, see? So does his quarterback, who he called a person who he didn't trust and looked flustered, does his quarterback get to come out and say, hey, so I showed up. What happened to Ed Reed?
You know, one thing I saw today, And I love that the Patriots picked up Hernandez because it seems every time I was just kind of turning away, coming back to see the game, Hernandez was doing something on the field. So great choice by the Patriots picking him up, and I think he's going to be great in the Super Bowl. Someone to really look forward to seeing play.
Yeah, I hope the 49ers kick the hell out of him, actually. To be honest with you, I'm tired of seeing Brady. I'm tired of seeing, the hoodie, Belichick. I'm tired of seeing all those guys because they get away with some cheap stuff, and I'm tired of it. I just don't want to see them anymore. I don't want to hear all those Boston fans come out and start talking about how great the team is, the Pates, the Sox,
Hey, we're going to come back here on the Rumour Show. Some rumors on who is interviewing for some of the head coaching positions around the NFL, that being the Raiders and the Colts. And that's coming up next on the Rumour Show.
Get on the floor, dale. 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 I want the whole world to get on the floor, dale. 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 I want the whole world to get on the floor.
Welcome to the Rumour Show. I'm Julio Flores, along with my producer, Rudy Campos, and updating you on the NFC Championship game. The Giants just going in on a TD pass to Manningham, 17 yards. They're up 17-14 with 8:34 left in the fourth quarter.
You do realize I'm going to be a miserable producer if the 49ers and the Ravens lose in the same day?
I know, that's going to be kind of depressing because I love the way Harbaugh has worked with this 49er team. Their record last season, 6-10, and what a turnaround. And I'm just loving. I have a lot of friends that are 49er fans, and I'm really happy for them. But the team across the bay that a lot more people are probably fans of, at least here in Southern California, are the Oakland Raiders, formerly the Los Angeles Raiders. And they got that head coach opening, and a lot of people saying, Al Davis's son, what does he know about football? Letting go of their head coach when they were just kind of getting up on a spurt. Packers assistant head coach Winston Moss got a 4-hour interview. I don't know what you talk about for 4 hours, and we'll see how that works out. Also, next up for the interview trail, Bears offensive coordinator Mike Tice scheduled to be meeting with the Oakland officials coming up Tuesday at the Senior Bowl. I love how the owners will actually go to talk to these potential head coaches, where usually in the real world, when you got to go for a job, you got to go to their place and all this type of stuff. I'd love it if potential employers would just come over to my house and hang out, and we'd break some bread, hang out, and talk shop.
If only you were so lucky to have that happen. But yeah, we're talking about sports here. That's not the real world. Come on, you know that.
That's not the real world.
You've known that.
What it probably is the owners just want to go on a trip. They're like, hey, I'm going to go interview so-and-so in Miami. I'm going to be gone for a couple days. Set me up with a bill, the hotel, the private plane.
Some other
I'm loving
party
it.
Anemones.
Yes, exactly.
A good party amenity here and there, and
Yeah.
they're all for it. You know what? It's good for the Raiders to actually get away from the Al Davis, and I'm going to say that, you know what? Al Davis stench. How's that? I'm going to call it like it is. It's a stench. If that guy would actually have known anything about football past the 1990s, the Raiders would not be in the shape they are now. Now, let's be honest. This guy still believed that going vertical was working in 2011. He put Hugh Jackson? Is it Jackson? Hugh Jackson, right?
Yeah.
He put him in charge. He was nothing but an Al Davis lackey. Now, mind you, a lackey that got more out of the players than any other of Al Davis's lackeys has done in the past decade. But he was an Al Davis lackey nonetheless, and he needed to go as soon as Al Davis passed away. Al Davis held that team down for a better part of a decade. And now that his son is in charge, maybe his son will be smart enough to get football people to do football decisions for that team. If not, they're going to be subjected to more losing and 500 seasons, because as they have shown now, the owners who really want to win championships put very smart football guys in positions to where they can succeed, and let them do what they need to do.
Well, one thing I always heard was that Al Davis would call his son in sometimes when they had the team meetings, and he would ask him his opinion. And his son would retort something completely ridiculous, and then he'd say, "You stupid fool, blank, 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 get the hell out of here." What do you know about football? And here's the guy that's running the team.
Yeah, but you have to remember, Al Davis, like I said, he still thinks that the 1980s style of football worked in 2011. It didn't. It hasn't worked in almost 20 years. So for him to ask anybody about what works in football and then for him to run them down for it, I take that with a grain of salt, because obviously if you go by his method of running football, it hasn't won them anything. They haven't made the playoffs. They haven't had a winning record in 7 years. They haven't got close to a Super Bowl. So why would he run down somebody else's thoughts on how football should be played?
One of the big favorites coming out of these interviews is Eagles offensive coordinator Marty Mortenwig. And what's great about that, he's worked before with Raiders general manager Reggie McKenzie, who was in Green Bay. He was the Packers quarterback coach when Green Bay won the Super Bowl with Brett Favre. So there's some great history there. And obviously, any GM wants to go ahead and work with someone maybe they got some history with. I think that's a good thing, because they kind of have the same kind of thoughts going. The only thing is that a lot of times, and I think this happens with players, obviously, because we get older, but does the smartness, the intelligence really stay there even for owners and coaches throughout this time? I think it would be great for the Raiders to have anyone who actually sounds like they can do something, but it really has never worked. And I still hope for Raider fans that things can change around and they can kind of have the heyday of the Kenny Stabler days, but it may never happen for a long time. I think the Raiders are the Clippers of the NFL.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that cannot be true, because they won championships. The Clippers have
That's true.
Never gotten close to winning a championship. But to bring up Marty Morningwig, you know what? That would be all fine and dandy, other than for the fact that last time he was a head coach, his entire Detroit team quit on him. Now, is he a drill instructor? Is he a hard ass? I don't know. But to have your whole team quit on you, that's really not a good sign if you want to be a potential head coach. Personally, I think they should go with Winston Moss. The guy is a defensive guy. As we have all known, defense wins championships when it comes to the NFL. What better way to do it than with one of the new GM's guys from Green Bay? Defense wins championships. If this guy can make any sort of adjustments to the defense they have now, because they got good players, they just need direction. If they can get that defense up and running, you might actually see the Raiders make the playoffs again.
Defense may win championships, but it sure makes for really boring BCS championship games.
You know what? It would have been great had LSU actually shown up for that game. Someone forgot to tell them they were playing a game that night. They didn't even get off the bus.
One team that hasn't gotten off the bus, and this is obviously because of the injury to their quarterback, but I still find it hard that the Colts ended up with the record they did for the season with only one win. And because you still got some great players on that team. Does everyone just fall apart because you don't have a chief in charge? Well, Jim Irsay flew to Florida and talked with former Ohio State Buckeyes coach Jim Tressel. And we know Tressel did work a little bit in the booth for Caldwell this past season. Roger Goodell, of course, not happy that obviously he had some suspensions going on. They decided to bolt from the NCAA. Was still going to make him go ahead and serve those suspensions if he was going to be in the NFL. Good decision or bad decision? Well, I'm a USC fan, so anything from Ohio State I'm not going to think so kindly of. And when I think of allegations, I'm thinking, well, everyone accuses USC of having allegations, but they don't accuse Ohio State. The guy just takes off. And people say, well, Pete Carroll took off too. Well, hey, that's a different story. Different story for a different day. But just having the top pick in the coming up draft, will they be picking Andrew Luck or Robert Griffin III? I know Luck has gone ahead and potential Heisman Trophy winner every year, but just somehow didn't make it. I guess just because he's kind of consistent. He's not really bells and whistles. And the guy that really had bells and whistles was the guy who won the Heisman Trophy, Robert Griffin out of Baylor. And just to see him play is just amazing. So I actually hope they will actually go with Griffin this coming season. And Irsay saying basically if they go ahead, even if Manning comes back, they're just going to either pick one or the other, obviously, quarterback. They might go 1 and 2, he's saying, just the way Peyton and Ryan Leaf went that one season. And hopefully they won't get the Ryan Leaf
Good
out
old
of
Ryan
this.
Leaf.
Yes.
You know, I appreciate them giving Jim Tressel a interview and whatnot, but let's be honest. Jim Tressel is not going to be able to command the locker room like he did when he was at Ohio State. At Ohio State, people thought of Jim Tressel as the politician. The guy was thought to be the cleanest of all the college coaches. Well, as you can see, nobody gets away with anything. It may take a couple years for you to get found out, but you do get found out sooner or later. The good thing is if Tressel gets the job with the Indianapolis Colts, he doesn't have to worry about his players trading memorabilia for tattoos. That's allowed in the NFL. That will not get you suspended. That will not get you put on probation. However, the guy is really not that good of a coach. If you think about it, the guy went to how many BCS bowl games and he maybe won 25% of them? I know for a fact he's gone to 5 and he only won 2.
In baseball, that'd be great. 250 average. I like him that.
Fantastic. However, he doesn't have what it takes to be an NFL coach. You have to have a gambler's mentality to a certain point in the NFL coaching carousel. To do that,
it is a carousel.
Yeah. To do that, you have to be willing to gamble sometimes. He showed that he would never gamble when he was at Ohio State. That's why he lost a majority of the BCS games.
Some players play, some coaches play conservatively, some play very liberally.
Yeah, I mean, true, but look, if you look at all the successful ones, they have a gambling streak to them. Case in point, when the last time the Giants won the Super Bowl and Coughlin went for that 4th and 12 or something like that, where the dude caught the ball on his helmet. Come on, 4th and 12?
Well, Tressel,
you have to gamble.
I got to tell you, Tressel did gamble when it came to possible NCAA allegations and sanctions. He said,
Well,
I'll just do this.
He just decided he wasn't going to tell anybody.
That was a gamble. Just doing it. All right, it's the Rumour Show. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some baseball, possible trades. We're going to talk about a particular player who cried and wanted to apologize to his fans and the United States of all things. And then we'll talk
and then take female steroids.
Yes, and then we'll talk about Vanessa Bryant and what kind of cash flow she's getting. It's coming up on the Rumour Show.
Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do it big. Yeah, screaming that's not when I pulled off the lot. That's not repping my town. When you see me, you know everything. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Welcome back to the Rumour Show. I'm Julio Flores, giving you an update on the NFC Championship game. 17-17 tied up. Akers had a 25-yard field goal, and we've got 4:38 left in the fourth quarter.
Go 49ers. Do me that favor. Just win one for me.
Just one?
Just one.
All
I
right.
don't care what happens in the Super Bowl.
You don't care what happens to this. All right. Fine. Well, someone who's winning and losing at the same time is Vanessa Bryant. Of course, Kobe Bryant's wife filed, obviously, for a divorce back in December. The court register in Orange County has 3 mansions now in her name, $18.8 million, the value of the 3 mansions. And we know that they didn't go ahead and have any prenup. And Kobe's worth $150 million. So according to California law.
Well, he's worth half now.
Exactly. She's going to get $75 million, more than likely, in addition to any ongoing spousal
Support.
and child support. And I love when they do these type of things because I know the players are making a lot of money. But I mean, I'll see things where spousal and child support of, 40, 50,000 a month. And I'm thinking, my goodness, what does somebody do with that much money in 1 month?
What could his children possibly need that's going to cost $50,000?
New shoes, new Nikes.
Apparently they're buying them a car every month. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, $50,000 a month. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
For child support.
It's crazy.
Come on now.
But, when we were talking about Jim Tressel, here was one of the coaches that was very squeaky clean. You never thought Tressel would be, because he's so conservative. You're thinking he's always thinking what he's going to do ahead of time, not going to take the wrong road. He kind of goes through life like a chess game.
Sweater vest.
Yeah, like a chess game, thinking through all the moves ahead of time. You'd be the last person to go through. And before the Colorado incident, Kobe Bryant really had that kind of image to most people in the public. And I must say, even though he admitted what he did in Colorado, I really felt uncomfortable wearing Kobe jerseys after that. And I hadn't for a long time. And I had just in the last few months bought a Kobe jersey. And now I feel guilty about it because I was like, okay, you made some amends. It's been years. I'm going to trust you again on a personal level.
Only to get shot in the foot.
Yes, exactly. And the interesting thing is that we never found out anything that happened. Nothing was ever said. And Vanessa didn't talk to any TMZ type websites or anything like that. Obviously, I guess this is something. And when you're around enough players, you realize a lot of this stuff goes on because there are sometimes women who will throw themselves at famous people.
No way, really?
Just because they want to, who knows, say they slept with so-and-so, I presume. I forget what player it was. I remember hearing a story, and I can't remember what player might have told me this story. And I wouldn't have said their name anyway. But he had sex with this girl, and she asked him for his sneakers. And he signed them. And then he was in her bedroom. And then she went ahead and laced up the shoelaces and tied them together and put them up in the closet. And he looked in there, and there was all these sneakers in there with signatures on them. And he's like, what is that? Those are all the other NBA players I've slept with. Wow, you got to go clean yourself very quickly after that, I would think.
You have to think, let's think about the whole Derek Jeter story where he was given gift bags of a signed baseball with his signature, a jersey with his signature. Now imagine you're sitting at home and your wife comes home after a night with the girls and she comes in knowing what he gives his conquests. What if she shows up with a autographed Derek Jeter ball and jersey? What do you think at that point? I would be like, I'd be kind of happy at first, but then think to myself, oh, man. I understand you're going to go for Derek Jeter, but come on, at least stow that stuff away so I don't see it.
It's got to work.
We've all talked about Kobe Bryant and the way he lives his life. Apparently, his dad was right. His dad told him, don't get married. You have way too much money. You're way too young. Go out and go have fun. Kobe Bryant turned around, told his dad he was stupid, got married, and didn't talk to him for something like 7 years. Apparently, his dad was not wrong, was he? Now, Kobe Bryant is worth half of what he was worth before. Why? Because he couldn't keep it in his pants. Rumors came out where he was allegedly messing around with Kim Kardashian's best friend. I forgot what her name is. Something DeBello or something like that. And I saw a picture of her. Good God, man. I'm not a big Vanessa Bryant fan, but if you're going to cheat on your wife, get someone who's better looking than your wife. All right? That's rule of thumb.
That's the same thing with Tiger Woods. You saw some of the girls he was with, and you're like, ugh, she's gross.
Yeah, well, Tiger Woods was just he wanted to fly. He wanted to fly his freak flag. He was like, let me see, I can get me a porn star. Let's see what the most deviant sexual acts I can get away with. Well, he got away with it for a while till he started to act stupid and he got caught, and they all came out of the woodworks and let you know what Tiger Woods really was like in his private life. So, you know what? I can't say anything bad because you know what, Kobe, you may be a great basketball player, but you should have listened to your dad. They normally know what they're talking about. I'm sure your dad, a very famous former basketball player, went through all the trials and tribulations of being a player. You should have learned from what he knew, and then everything would have been fine, but you didn't. So there you go.
You know, a lot of times when a player goes through a lot of personal issues, it can affect their play. I don't really see that with Kobe. Kobe had 30 points in Friday's game against the Magic, even though they did lose. It's the rest of the team that's bogus now. And and it's funny, Shaquille O'Neal is now a TNT and an NBA analyst. They ask him basically, Shaq, who do you think is the best center around nowadays? He goes,
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Andrew Bynum. And they're like, better than Dwight Howard? Yeah. So, but as the game went on, Howard outscored Bynum by 11, out-rebounded him by 11.
But Bynum had more blocks than he did, so.
And stayed on the court for nearly 20 more minutes because Bynum had some foul trouble. Now
you do realize why this is, right? Because everybody was calling Dwight Howard Superman.
Yeah.
And apparently Shaq got all offended because apparently he's got the trademark on Superman or something. He thought he was Superman. So now these two guys are arguing over a damn comic book character and the Superman S that's tattooed on both their arms. Really? Really? You guys are arguing over a comic book character.
in my
Don't
opinion,
these guys have anything else better to do?
Christopher Reeves is Superman. That's my opinion.
Or the other dude that played in the TV show.
And I'm sure DC Comics probably has some issues about that too.
Oh, DC. No, excuse me, not Marvel, DC. But whatever the case, why are you fighting over a comic book character or a patch of it? I mean, you guys do realize you guys make multi-millions of dollars, right? Can't you guys argue about something else? Like who was the better free throw shooter since you guys both suck? Or who had the least amount of game outside of the key? Something like that. Argue about something that pertains to the sport you played in, not comic book characters.
And it's funny because they asked Dwight after the game. They told him what Shaq had said. And he said, hey, you don't play the game anymore. Get on with your life. Why are you talking trash here?
I agree.
man?
I agree.
You know, Bynum has been getting a little better. I haven't really ever been sold on Bynum, to be honest with you. Averaging 16.3 points. I wouldn't have been feeling bad if they had gotten Paul, got rid of Bynum. And I love Gasol, but I know you got to throw something good in with the mix. But the talk is that the Lakers would still like to get Howard. Kobe and him have been talking on the phone a lot. And, you know, when you talk to your buddy, you're like, hey, man, what do you think is going to happen? You think I'm going to be able to get in over there? Da, 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 da. And it's funny because apparently Kobe's been telling him, hey, if you end up coming, just remember whose team this is. You know, I want no
what a
lip from you.
shock.
I want no lip from you, brother.
What a shock. But, you know, this is what they're trying to do is they're going to build a super team. If everybody else can build a super team, the Lakers are going to try too. They're going to go out, if they get Dwight Howard, they're going to go out, get Dwight Howard, and then they're going to try and lure Darren Williams from the New Jersey Nets out to California. That's what's really going to happen. That they're trying to set up the chess pieces just perfectly so they can take over the world. That's basically what happens.
You know, Darren has been talking about this because his first choice would be to stay with the Nets, and obviously they're moving to Brooklyn, so he thinks it'd be a great opportunity. Hopefully pick up Howard. That's what Darren Williams is hoping is going to happen. But if that doesn't happen, some of his other choices are the Mavericks, the Knicks, and the Lakers. The Mavericks is an interesting choice too because he did grow up in Dallas and obviously has those ties there to Dallas. But Darren Williams coming to the Lakers, I think, would be like a safety net, so to speak. If they can't get Howard, at least they can pick up somebody in this mix. And I don't think they'll be able to have to give up too much to get Darren.
Well, I would much rather see Darren Williams than Derek Fisher running around 3 steps behind whatever point guard he's guarding. I mean, he has lost 8 steps apparently, and he can't keep anybody in front of him. I would much rather see Darren Williams with one leg than watch Derek Fisher chase somebody around. Derek Fisher has fallen off worse than any person I've seen in quite some time. He needs to retire. He should have retired last year, but yet he still pulls a fat paycheck from the Lakers. Well, and the Lakers do nothing about it.
I think the thing about D-Fish, maybe he can't keep up. He obviously getting older and all that type of stuff. But you know what? When they need a 3, he's the clutch guy to get those 3s.
He's got one game that he hit a clutch 3-pointer in. Don't tell me about the game last week because that's not a playoff game. We all know that the regular season in the NBA really doesn't matter. It's all about what happens in the playoffs. What has Derek Fisher done in the past 3 years in the playoffs? Last year, he got absolutely torched while the Dallas Mavericks cruised over the Los Angeles Lakers. The year before that, he was getting torched, but if it wasn't for Kobe and Gasol and Bynum playing to the levels they were, then nobody knew about Derek Fisher's deficiencies. So, I mean, in 3 years, he went from being a champion to nothing to worse than nothing this year. I mean, the guy is on there, and the Lakers are practically playing a game 4-on-5.
Well, the Lakers had one of the worst benches. I mean, when the season started, I said to myself, hey, who are all these white guys on the bench?
Apparently, they became Duke.
I thought white men can't jump.
They became Duke. That's all it is. But you know what? If they can get Darren Williams, it would be great. Does he really need Dwight Howard? No, because he has Andrew Bynum and Paul Gasol. Will he need Dwight Howard to stay in Jersey? Yeah, probably. But let's be honest. What is Jersey going to give up to get Dwight Howard? An injured Brook Lopez? Nobody wants that.
No.
What is Dallas going to give up to get Dwight Howard? They don't have any assets.
The thing about, you were just saying a moment ago that the NBA season doesn't really count for much. I mean, if you're an average team, you're getting into the playoffs, basically. There's just so many teams that get into the playoffs, and the playoffs last so long. You're talking about 2-3 months going on here. That's one reason why I think the Lakers have never really worked as hard as they really are worth in the regular season. I remember talking to Snoop Dogg at the MTV Awards, and he tells me, yeah, Lakers should only have like about 12 losses a season. And then previous years, they could have done that. This year, looks terrible.
They're just playing for the postseason, which is fine. But, again, it really doesn't matter because if your point guard is going to get torched and he's going to get slashed and beat to the hole every game, it doesn't matter who you have in the lane. You could have 5 Dwight Howards. If you can't stop ball penetration, you're going to lose every time.
Another team that's really thinking about their big 3 are the Celtics. Danny Ainge is saying, you know what? I don't want this team to go like the previous big 3. You've got Paul Pierce, 34, Garnett, 35, Ray Allen, 36. They would consider a trade. They were telling the Boston Globe, Danny Ainge was telling them, if they could make the team younger. Obviously, anyone you're going to trade for is probably going to be younger than these 3. And it's good to think about these things ahead of time. Being a Laker fan, I don't care what the Celtics do. They could go ahead and wash offshore. It doesn't give me a lot of I don't have a lot of issues about that. But, it's good to think ahead.
You really need the Boston Celtics. I don't care, big 3, big 4, big 25. You need the Boston Celtics to be good if you really want a good NBA season. Because let's be honest, what is the best rivalry in all of the NBA? It's the Lakers and the Celtics. Why? Because there is so much hatred between the fan bases. And why? Because these are two of the best and most storied franchises in all of the NBA. You really need them. Now, do they really need to get rid of some of these players? Yeah. Kevin Garnett is 35, but he's playing like he's 52. Ray Allen, you don't got to worry about because Ray Allen is a shooter. He doesn't need the explosiveness. He just needs to spot up and start firing balls from the outside. Paul Pierce, slasher, he's starting to lose it a little bit. But if anybody is going to be traded off of that team, it needs to be Kevin Garnett because his game has not only fallen off, it's got cut in half is basically what happened. I don't care who you bring in, but you need to bring in someone who's going to bring more to the table than Kevin Garnett's bringing right now.
The other superstar team being the Heat, D. Wade still didn't play last night. Still got that sprained right ankle. And, you know, LeBron has really gone ahead and he's scoring about 4 more points a game without D. Wade. Though some people saying, hey, you guys are playing pretty good without D. Wade at all. The Heat had a 5-4 record with Wade in the lineup. But, you know, Wade, he is that franchise. I mean,
for anybody to make it sound like they don't really need Dwayne Wade, come on, let's be honest. Let's be serious here. Dwayne Wade carried that franchise. I don't care if they had Shaq. Dwayne Wade carried that franchise to their one and only championship. LeBron James has yet to prove to anybody that this guy shows up in the fourth quarter of anything that matters. So let's relax. Let's take a step back and not start anointing the Miami Heat champions just yet, because last time I checked, last year they had the best record in all of the NBA, and they got beat by the Dallas Mavericks. All right? Until LeBron James can show me he can close games, I'm going to go with D. Wade. D. Wade, at least I know, will close games. Chris Bosh, on the other hand, talk about a freeloader. This guy is collecting that much money, and he hasn't done anything. I thought this guy was supposed to be some kind of animal. Everybody talked about how great he was in Toronto, and then he goes to Miami, and he's not even playing second fiddle. He's not even playing third fiddle. He's playing like fifth option. I thought this guy was supposed to be one of the best power forwards, but he gets to Miami, and all of a sudden he loses his game.
Quick update of the NFC Championship game. Still tied 17-all. 27 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Ball's on the Giants 49 right now, 1st and 10. Pretty good chance this game's going to go into overtime. And unless a nice field goal gets kicked, so we'll see what's going on with that. You know, speaking of, you're mentioning the super team of the Heat. One of the things I think is an issue in the NBA is when you have so many players that really have that Kobe Bryant attitude of this is my team. And really, I think most NBA teams really only have room for one superstar. And the rest are really some support players. So to have these many people on the same team, it looks great on paper. But I think when it comes down to it, like in a playoff situation, everyone wants to have the love of the fans, the love of the media, all of the starstruckness upon them. And they don't want to share it.
Well, technically, yes. But as you've seen with LeBron James, he shies away when it comes to fourth quarters of a big game. He always passes. He defers. You are 6'9", 260 with a body like that, and you're deferring? All the way up to the fourth quarter, you're dominating everything. You are the best player in the NBA, and when it comes to the fourth quarter, now you're going to defer? Come on, man. You got to show some kind of killer instinct. And, yeah, I agree with you. These players nowadays, they all want to do it all by themselves, but you can blame Michael Jordan for that, because Michael Jordan made it to where it was all about him. But what these kids don't get nowadays is once Michael Jordan started believing his teammates, that's when he started winning championships. Not before.
It's the Rumour Show, and we're going to come back, and we'll give you some more updates on the NFC Championship game. We'll talk about Philbin coming to the Dolphins, what the Dolphins will be expecting, the Miami faithful, coming up on the Rumour Show.
Might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll get you there. You can try and read my lyrics off of this paper before I lay 'em, but you won't take the sting out these words before I say 'em, 'cause ain't no way I'm gonna let you stop me from causing mayhem. When I say I'm gonna do something.
Welcome back to the Rumour Show. I'm Julio Flores, and a lot of people excited about the hire in Miami of Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator for the past 5 years, Philbin. And
Regis
Philbin is moving on. And no, Michael Philbin.
Oh,
Actually, no, that was the son.
I
My
thought
apologies.
he just quit his TV show to go become a coach or something.
You know what's sad for Philbin is that he went ahead and interviewed on January 7th. The next day, his 21-year-old son was found dead in a river, and just devastated. You know, it's got to be hard for any parent, because you always think that your children are going to bury you. To have to bury your own children is just terrible. To think that that's going to happen.
You know what? I would agree with you, but I don't have a kid.
I know. I understand that. But all his family was there at the press conference. He wasn't even sure, actually, he was even going to get the job, because obviously when you're in mourning like that, nothing else is on your mind. He says, we didn't watch television. We didn't know if someone else was up for the gig. But his son, who's only 16, told him, Dad, you know, you're going to go for that job, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, I'm not taking into light the passing of his son, but going by what you saw when the Green Bay Packers.
I love the
played
Green Bay Giants. They're a great team.
I mean, would you really want this guy as your head coach? I saw what Aaron Rodgers did all season long, but when it came down to crunch time, that team folded. So, am I really, really going to look at this guy as a serious candidate? That's just, I'm just asking.
He already did. Stephen Ross, here's what he says, the owner of the Dolphins. This guy reminds me of the only guy that took us to the Super Bowl. That being Hall of Famer Don Shula. That's what he said.
Okay. Remember when we were talking about Al Davis?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be another Al Davis. He apparently does not know what works in the NFL. Granted, again, his offense looked fantastic in Green Bay, but does he have an Aaron Rodgers in Miami?
No.
Yeah, not even close, right? Does he have a Matt Flynn that backed up Aaron Rodgers in Miami?
Well, that's the whole point. They're going to have to rebuild that team. Sad to say, it's a wreck. Even with their record being not that bad.
But you're better off getting a defensive guy than you are offensive guy if
you
have no talent.
I was surprised Fisher went to the Rams. I thought he'd pick the Dolphins. At least
he went to the Rams because they got Sam Bradford. That's why he went there. The rebuilding's not going to be hard there. You already have your franchise quarterback. You have a semi-good defense. You just need talent to go around them. Now,
I don't know. I think the Rams are still going to stink for a while.
That may be true, but it won't be for the fact that they're lacking talent. I mean, Miami Dolphins, can you even name me a player off the Miami Dolphins?
No.
Exactly, right. At least you can name one player from the Rams. And two, if you consider Chris Long.
Let's move on to some of the baseball stories. We're getting some text, people saying, I thought you were going to tell me about some baseball trades. What's going on? I want to know about that stuff, huh?
Wait, what are we talking about?
We can talk some baseball.
What?
Fausto Carmona issuing a very tearful apology on Friday because he used a false identity to play baseball. He says, I love the quote, I ask for the forgiveness of my fans, the government of the United States, and the Cleveland Indians for this situation, as he was getting released on bail for $13,000.
Now, he does realize he plays in Cleveland, right? Cleveland. Does anybody really give a rat's ass about anything in Ohio outside of the Black Keys and 9 Inch Nails? And maybe Ohio State?
You know, the people in Cleveland have a lot of things to have to be unhappy about.
Yeah, I mean, they live in Cleveland, for Christ's sake.
Well, then we got a few days ago, last month, Leo Nunez, the Marlins reliever, got in trouble, too, for using a false identity. But here's the thing about it. When we think of all the stories we've been talking about today, when people lie, they eventually get caught. That's just the way it is.
Sooner or later.
Why doesn't anyone believe that?
because they're athletes and they believe they're above the law. That's why these guys have 3 or 4 DUIs. That's why these guys have 6 or 7 gun charges, because they have enough money to buy their way out of it. Now, I mean, if you're going to lie about your age, that's fine. But come on. You think they really care about what age? It doesn't matter how old you are. If you can deal heat, you can deal heat. Nobody cares if you're 23 or 33. That's all there is to it. If you can play, you can play.
Yeah, the Indians aren't planning on doing anything. Carmona's going to be making $7 million this year. They got some options for 2013, $9 million, $12 million for 2014. They basically said, we're currently made aware of the situation that occurred today in the Dominican Republic, and we don't really have a comment about it.
Of course they
We'll
don't.
get to you later.
Just typical Ohio fashion. They just turn a blind eye and suck.
Well, a lot of these players, they're coming from the Dominican Republic, and they're sometimes too young, but they still want to get out of the Dominican Republic to play baseball. They have like basically like baseball camps. I'm going to call them baseball sweatshops in the Dominican Republic, where if you want to get out of the Dominican Republic, you need to go ahead and learn to play baseball so you can get the heck out of here.
Well, yeah, isn't that how the Dodgers got Adrian Beltre and how half of these guys got here? After being signed illegally, allegedly. At least that's what they were said, right? I mean, I don't know the inner workings of baseball, but I do remember that story.
Manny Ramirez has been working out in Miami.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
And he actually had some teams come and watch him play. The Orioles and the Blue Jays. But Oakland is the team that has expressed the most interest. Obviously, Ramirez is a .312 lifetime hitter, but suspension. But he's worked out apparently a deal if he comes back. Because basically, if you're a second offender, got to do 100 games.
Oh, yeah,
suspension.
he's going to miss 2/3 of a season.
But no, he cut a deal. He's going to have to just serve a 50-game suspension if he finds a team that will sign him.
What? How does that work? Again, these guys get away with things because they're allowed to get away with things. All right? This guy failed a drug test. He got popped for steroids, sat down for 50 games, came back to the Dodgers and couldn't hit anything. And then he moves on to the Tampa Bay Rays or the Miami Rays, whatever the hell they want to be called, gets popped again and just decides, oh, you know what? I've had enough. Well, how many of these idiots are going to keep giving this guy an opportunity? Look, there's a reason why he was on the masking agent he was on, because either he wanted to be pregnant or he was hiding something, all right? And since I'm guessing he's a guy, he's probably not going to want to get pregnant, all right? So let's make that fact well known right now. The guy is a cheater. You don't need to bring him back. His time has passed long ago. And at this point, I think everybody needs to relax. Let this guy be. Let him go travel the world or whatever he was going to do when he got popped. And just let this guy be, because you do not need to bring this circus case in. You do not need to bring this mental mess into your team, especially a young team like the Oakland A's. Do you really want someone like this cancer, this poisonous carcinogenic coming into your locker room? Because I, for one, if I had young players, I wouldn't want him around. Why? So he can teach people how to cheat? No, thanks. I mean, I don't need it. Thanks.
Well, I mean, if we're going to bring back Manny, let's just bring back Jose Canseco. Come on.
McGuire?
Exactly. Let's bring them all back. You know, the Los Angeles Dodger faithful loved Manny. No matter what Manny did, he could do no wrong. That's because the Dodgers were in such terrible shape during the time that Manny was there.
And you do realize the kind of crowd that goes to Dodger games, right? I mean, let's not forget, I'm not going to say all of them, but, I mean, Brian Stowe. It's not the safest of crowds, and it's not the most educated of crowds. It is more along the lines of it's a cheap game. I can get a lot of alcohol in me and then act like a jackass. That's what most of these guys are now. So, I mean, yeah, of course they're going to love Manny Ramirez. They're all degenerates just like he is. Well, I take that back. Excuse me. Let me recant that. Most of them are degenerates like he is. There are some good ones.
You know, we're already getting angry phone calls from Los Angeles at 1-800-1-RUMOR. And I have a feeling they're going to be saying some stuff to you, Rudy.
That's all right. I can take it. I will not say anything on this mic that I would never say to anybody else's face.
All right.
He's like, all right.
If it was television, you could see my face going, what? You know, one of the things about the Texas Rangers, want to bring up this story. They'd love to sign Josh Hamilton. The biggest free agent still left in the market right now is Cecil Fielder, but the Rangers would love to pick him up. Prince Fielder, thank you. I'm mixing my fielders up.
Yes. In fact,
but I love Cecil Fielder.
Yeah, I mean, he was a decent player.
Yes. Big guy, too. Whenever I could remember playing, Xbox, and when Cecil Fielder came up, I mean, like, he took up the whole screen when he was batting.
Yeah, and every time he put the bat on the ball, it just flew off the screen. I remember that.
Exactly. But the Rangers have such a deep field, a deep depth on their roster. And being an Angel fan, I wouldn't be too excited about this. The Rangers have just been incredible for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, but at a certain point, when you cannot pony up for your free agents, sooner or later your team's going to go downhill. We've seen it all the time. Look at the Braves.
Well, that's what happened to the Angels a couple of years ago. Lost a lot of their free agents, and the team just wasn't the same. But I predict a great season for the Angels this coming year. At least we're going to have a lot of sellout crowds.
Your pitching staff looks very solid. I don't know. I mean, it's a good idea to sign Pujols, but I really don't know what he's got left in the tank. And he doesn't even have, you know what? It might be a good thing if he just plays designated hitter. Because he doesn't really need to play first base.
Well, that's the great thing about the American League. And that's the thing that was kind of a little scary to me when they were thinking about signing Pujols, because 10 years is a long time. I mean, you don't. And the bad thing about the Angels, I hate to say this about my team, but they're a little cursed. You know, you got big players that have signed with that team like Mo Vaughn, and I thought, how great! We're really going to do well this year. Mo Vaughn comes out of the dugout, trips and sprains his ankle.
Yeah,
practically the first few weeks.
You have to remember, Mo Vaughn was about 800 pounds too. I mean, it's not like the guy ever touched a weight other than for a quarter pounder.
That was a half a pounder.
Oh, whatever, the half pound. That's the only curl he did. I mean, let's be honest. But hey, you know what? They have a good team. Are they gonna be able to gel? Is my question. Are they gonna be able to bring that cohesiveness needed in a team sport like baseball?
Well, you got 162 games to do it, and that's the beauty of that long season. You got your ups and downs. They're gonna have some time to get together. And that's one thing I think is valuable about the preseason for baseball, just kind of getting to know each other, getting to know each other's rhythm, where a lot of other sports don't really have that long of a preseason, because it's technically kind of dangerous to have too long of a preseason. You imagine having too long of a preseason in the NFL. You never have a season because everyone would be in the injured reserve list.
Yeah, but you also have to remember the reason why they don't have one is because of the contact. There's not too much contact in baseball. I mean, unless you're charging the plate, there is rarely ever a big hit in baseball other than for a home run. There is no physicality towards the game of baseball when it comes to two opposing players. So, I mean, you can have a long preseason like that and build up the team rapport, which is fine, but it needs to translate on the field. And like I said, they already have a great pitching staff. So they always say pitching wins championships. We're about to find out.
NFL story before we get out this hour. Brian Schottenheimer being hired by the Rams. And a lot of people happy that he's gone from the Jets. A very angry fan base. Their total defense for the Jets plummeted to only 29th in the NFL. Wasn't the same year for Mark Sanchez. And, you know, when your name is, your title is offensive coordinator, the Jets really have been a great team. So I'm a little surprised at this hire going through for the Rams. Are you just picking up junk along the way? I can just need somebody in there. What's the situation here?
Okay. I want to preface this by saying I don't know Brian Schottenheimer from anybody else. I do know that if it wasn't for his contacts and his father, he probably would not have a job in the NFL. It's not like this guy is an offensive genius. When you hear Brian Schottenheimer, nobody thinks Mike Martz or Don Coryell or anything like that. The guy gets by on his last name, his father, and the fact that he's got plenty of friends. That being said, a lot of the Jets' problems this year not only go because he is not a really good coordinator, but you have to remember that Mark Sanchez played very underwhelmingly this year. Brian Schottenheimer was to blame for part of it. The other part is Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez was too busy chasing chicks than he was to be an integral part of the team. And it showed in his play. Now, is he allowed to? I mean, if you want to give him that pass, then fine. But you, as a professional, need to take your career seriously. I don't care what hot model thinks you're cute as long as you get the job done on the field. Joe Namath was the same way. However, he performed on the field. That's why he's thought of as a god in New York. That's why Mark Sanchez is thought of as a joke in New York. That's why the fan base has turned on him, because he's too busy chasing tail and not putting in the time in the weight room and the film sessions.
Well, the New York media is really difficult to begin with, and that was one thing that was pointed out to Mark Sanchez anyway when he was going to New York. You know, it's going to be tough here. If you falter anywhere along the way, the press will eat you up, and people will believe it. There's a lot of I'm amazed. I can't relate to that here in LA because we don't have a newspaper that is basically like the National Enquirer. But they'll eat you up alive there in New York. It'll be very opinionated, and you got to really stand up, and you got to have a thick skin to deal with the people there, the press, etc.
It's kind of like being a producer.
Kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to remember when he first came into the league, they went to the playoffs. Then they went to the playoffs again. And you didn't hear anything bad about him. That's because nobody cared because he was performing. Now, this year, he's linked to this chick and this broad and that broad. Nobody cares as long as you perform. Once the girlfriends that you have are more popular than you and are getting popular because you're dating them, that's where the issue is. You need to perform. Keep your head in the game. I don't care what you do in the off season. You do whatever you want. You can go chase 18 chicks every night. I don't care. But
why not 20? Yeah, why not 30?
When it comes to the season, you need to make sure your head is in the game. And that's all they're asking for you. And you can't even provide that. That's why they hate you now.
You ask for too much, Rudy.
I know. I'm a jerk like that.
Go back there and answer the phone. We're going to take some phone calls this next hour on the Rumour Show. Give you an update on the NFC Championship game. Still tied 17-all, 9:32 left in overtime. I really don't like these new rules for the overtime. I really prefer to have just a set amount of time, and then whoever wins in that extra overtime period is the winner. I feel so college football, which I really hate, starting at the 30-yard line and 25-yard line, etc., and going ahead and scoring, and then the other person scores, back and forth. It's like this is weird. It's like, okay, you can score a field goal, but we'll still give the other team a chance to catch up. Oh, well, but if you score a touchdown, that's it. So if I get the ball first, it's going to be really cooler for me. You know, it's like, have some consistency. If we're going to do it this way in the regular season, have it be that way for the playoffs. If we're going to do it this way in the playoffs, have it for the regular season too. So I don't get all confused, okay?
Nah, you know what that is. It's the stupidity of everybody else. They got mad because the Minnesota Vikings didn't get to touch the ball 2 years ago, and they lost by a field goal. Nobody cares. If you want to win and you get the ball second, I mean, if you have to kick off, you want to win, stop the offense. It's that simple. Get out there and stop them. Get your defense off the field, get the ball back, and drive it down. That's all you have to do. Don't make it all complicated. Let's try not to overthink how to finish a game. Let's just get a definite finish. That's all I'm asking for.
We'll take your calls coming up on the Rumour Show this next hour at 1-800-1-RUMOR. It's the Rumour Show, and I'm Julio Flores.